Hello, everyone. I'm Chester44, also known as Fly, and welcome to this Let's Play of Pillars of Eternity. Last episode, we took a look through Twin Elms here, and after taking a look over the Golden Grove and finding out where Haravius needs to go to try and find more information, here, Blood Sands, and dealing with a small quest involving poisoning a guy, we went here and spoke with Shida and Rhiannon, who I guess are dryads, nymphs, something like that, plant women, who basically told us a bit more about what we need to do. Basically, our awakening cannot be solved. It cannot be stopped. We're doomed to eventually go crazy unless we find out the answer of what is unresolved for our past self, or something like that. And to do that, we need to find and speak with Theos, who we're looking for in the first place in order to resolve all the problems. Where he went is to a hidden city called Sun and Shadow, which he went into here, went down, and then destroyed the only entrance. There is another way in, which involves jumping down a very deep pit, and the only way we can actually survive that is by literally praying to the gods. Fortunately, there's a place we can pray to the gods right here inside Ter Evron. So that's what we're going to have to do. But, because there are still side quests we have to do, we're going to do that later. For now, we're going to go and look at other things. Are you sure of what you claim? I hope that the sacrifices would have waned. With the frontiers open again, I assure you will need much war paint in the coming season. Well, let's go in here and see if we can get Haravius' whole thing dealt with. Alright, we're in Blood Sands. Keeper Garost. The Ethik Knoll welcome your presence, supplicants. A dwarven man stands motionless near the roaring fire that lights the cavern. Your sacrifice feeds the land, supplicants. Come forth. A gust of smoke curls around him, licking the charred flesh that bulges on his forearms. They suddenly flex. Estramor. The dwarf holds his fists in a tight grip. Your kin doesn't come here to share with the tribes. What do you want? What's this place? Blood Sands. The dwarf picks on his scarred forearm. His guttural sigh mingles with the crackling of wood and bones behind him. As I said, Estramoran rarely visit our halls. The Glanfathans call this place Blood Sands. We call it home. The Ethik Knoll have tended the land from within this cave since before the arrival of the tribes to Twin Elms. Garost crosses his arms. Be warned, Estramor. We bleed life to nurture it. Our sacrifices may strike you as savage, but the health of these lands depends on them, and it's unseemly for guests to insult their hosts. Tell me about the sacrifices. Garost spreads his stocky legs apart and locks his forearms. Everything must die to return anew, Estramor. Through the sacrificial rites, we offer supplicants the honor of giving their most precious gift back to their brethren, back to the land. The dwarf lifts his fist, thick and mottled by red scars. The blood gives us strength. Even the Glanfathans have come to depend on the blood paint. They brim with power before battle, all thanks to the sacrifices of their kin. Tell me about the Ethik Knoll. Our order has thrived for generations. Before we came to Twin Elms, our rites fed the lands of the Eastern Mountains. Now we share blood for Air Glanfath. Garost opens his palms, strikes of red skin run through them like flames. To everything that must end, our sacrifices bring a new beginning. We sustain what's to come. Remember, Estramor, you're a guest in these halls. Respect our ways, and we'll tolerate your presence among us. Very well. Smoke curls up from these charred skeletons. The smell is nauseating. Essence taken by force may
Upon Burial Isle, the two men meet again for the first time, though it was the last thing they did. The many-colored beast rent them both asunder. They were, in death, merged and made whole again. Cute story. Two guys meet in the belly of a soul-eating creature. Maybe someday I'll eat two of the most insipid dear wooden lumberjacks, and they'll spend an eternity discussing beer whilst haunting my colon.
Perhaps the idea is that the Autumn Stelgar might not really destroy the souls? That could be true, but I guess I don't know what to make of this. I've never, knowingly at least, eaten anyone's soul. Maybe it's a trick I've yet to learn. Lucky me. Still, I have a hard time believing that me spirit-shifting and mauling anyone is going to make anybody whole again, despite what this tablet says. I'd like to look at the other tablets and see what they have to say. Essence taken by force may...
Upon Burial Isle...
Okay. Essence taken by force may sustain one, but essence given freely empowers many. Can't steal things. Talon. There is no greater honor than dying for one's tribe. If some fall in battle, how is this different? Well, let us begin exploring and see if we can find the other tablets. Another keeper. Keeper Werda.
Builder's wisdom to you.
The elderly dwarf blinks at you, not quite looking at you. Her eyes are pale and clouded with cataracts. Welcome to Blood Sands. It is rare that an Estremor sets foot in these caverns. Her sightless eyes fix on you as she tilts her head. What brings you here, I wonder? What do you do here? I sell and maintain certain goods for the preservation of our order, and I perform some of our ritual sacrifices. Something more? How do these sacrifices work? Like any worthwhile ritual, it's too complex to explain in detail. It involves clotting the supplicant's essence, binding it to their life's blood, and drawing it into a container or vessel. Tell me about Blood Sands. This, the raw, bloody heart of Air Glanfath, where some come to give their essence back to their people. Her dry lips bend into a sardonic grin, where others seek a noble escape from their trials. The legacy of the builders to their tribes was not merely Adran stone, but a sense of community, and it is here that the Glanfathans come to sacrifice what is most precious, even their own lives, to preserve it. Let me see what you have for sale. More potions and the like, and that's it. Where did I get this? Thy Clef, a large shield. 10% of incoming crits converted to hits. Nowhere near as good as the Dragon's Maw shield. Do I have things to sell? I do. We did have a fight a while ago, so... I did never actually sell all this. Ah, we have a load of traps to sell. Yep, we will sell all of these traps that I do not need. Okay, that's all those. I can sell that. I think that's all I need to sell here. Thank you. Now let's keep looking around. Oh wow, they've got Earth Blights guarding as well. Ah, found another.
Is not the water sacrificed unto the plant, and the plant sacrificed unto livestock, and livestock unto man? When the lesser soul is sacrificed to strengthen the greater soul, the whole of our family grows stronger. I suppose I get the argument. We all have to kill and eat, constantly for that matter, to live. This sounds like it's talking about the Blood Sands rituals. I wonder how, or even if, this is relevant to me.
You wear an eye patch of whale. I thought you were supposed to love cryptic information like this. Haravia stares at you with a smile. A fair point. Whale wanted me to see this, so what about it applies to me? His voice sinks and his face turns pale. Am I the lesser soul? Was being cast out of my tribe the sacrifice that made the greater soul stronger? I don't know. Just sounds like they're trying to justify their practices of killing people. Come on, let's see what the other tablets have to say. And what did it actually say here? The bravest sons and daughters fall not by the swords of Estermorn, but by the daggers of their brethren. Well, moving on.
Now this I haven't seen before.
Well, we found a hidden room with traps.
On the hunt.
Not that we're going to take anything here. At least not yet. Okay, that looks like a main room. We'll go in there after we finish looking through everything else. Looks like we've got another.
Each generation, the Onumfoth must stand before the autumnal beast in judgment. The wise endure, passing on their strength. The weak are eaten, their souls ripped to pieces and lost for all time, removing such weakness from the cycle. Well, I guess maybe my tribe wasn't entirely wrong about my spirit form being some sort of soul terror. I suppose I was hoping to hear a different answer on the matter, but...
But it's worth asking. In all your times walking in the Autumn Stelgar's fur, how many souls have you destroyed? That I'm aware of? None. I get what you're saying. I merely wear the form of the Autumn Stelgar. It's not in control of me, nor the sum of who I am. For years I've been telling myself my tribe judged me unfairly. Guess they weren't completely wrong. Well, enough pontification for the moment. I need to know more. Let's look at those other tablets. The heat emanating from this pool threatens to singe the flesh of your face. I imagine there's probably one more around here somewhere.
I can do that. That's settled.
We probably don't really need the experience anymore, but doing it anyway. The gift of sacrifice transmutes blood into water and essence into power. Bem Samtum. Just as the flesh of one nourishes many, the sacrifice freely made strengthens those that will come to us. Strength for the ones that will come to us. Okay.
As souls split into multitudes, many lives come from one. The truest of power comes from sacrificing the shard to return its strength to the Mother Stone. The many lives from one sounds familiar. I was taught that sometimes between death and rebirth, a soul splits perfectly in two, creating two viable souls from one. Sounds strange, but it makes sense when you think about how the population has risen in generations. It's kind of a mathematical necessity that some process like this is happening.
Maybe the Autumn Stelgar has a very important role to play in this life cycle of souls? Sorry, sir, I'm not eating your soul. I'm merely serving a vital role in the natural process. I see what you're getting at, but it's not making me feel better. Fungus that grows on shit has an important role in the natural order. That wouldn't make me thrilled to spirit shift into a shit blossom. Ravi, let's see. So after this, we're to go to the Burial Isle? Haravius read the parable written on the stones of the Blood Sands. The story spoke of the Autumn Stelgar being sent to test Onum Fatha of their worth. Those that fail are consumed by the Stelgar so that their weakness does not live on and multiply. The tablets also mention that many Autumn Father would travel to the Burial Isle to meditate and be tested by these Autumn Stelgars. Haravius now wishes to explore the Burial Isle for one of these pilgrimage sites. So we need to get to Burial Isle again.
And the fire shows me something.
Oh, good. Something we can loot. Oh, we can loot this too. Naka. The petitioner before you is swaddled in loose-fitting robes. Her hair is greasy and matted. A glossy film of sweat and grime coats her exposed skin. She has the swollen features of pregnancy, and several missing teeth on her big grinning smile. As you approach, she slowly turns to you and examines you from head to toe, smiling the entire time. "Joyous day to you," she says. Despite her coming from a wearied body, her voice sounds resonant and relaxed. "I am Naka, midwife and lore-keeper." Her hands run across the slight bulge in her belly. She rolls her head back and sighs a relaxed purr. "Are you feeling well?" "Flawless. Apologies, I should be left to my meditation. The rite of strength is invigorating, almost overwhelming to the senses." She reaches down and cradles her belly in her hands and turns away. I admit to being slightly concerned. Anyway, looks like there's one more room to look at, now that we've been through all of these things. And that is this room here. Oh, hello.
As your blood flows, so shall your essence. Your life's energy shall feed the soil, and your soul's energy shall enrich the community. This is by your own choosing, supplicant?
A dwarven man stands on a raised platform. Beneath him, an elf lies prone on a stone table. As you get closer, you hear the dwarf speak in a gravelly monotone. "Yes." The elf's voice is high but even. The dwarf grips a hatchet with both hands and raises it over his head. He throws his shoulders forward and swings the weapon onto the elf's chest, connecting with a meaty thump. Blood gushes around the blade and the sacrifice's screams rend the air. Alof's lips curl with disgust. "This is why I prefer the wand to the blade." Despite his earlier agreement, the elf thrashes atop the stone table, his torso arching while his arms and legs remain tied in place. Meanwhile, the dwarf spreads his arms wide and allows blood to spatter his robes. When the elf is finally silent and still, the dwarf pulls his hatchet from the body and wipes it on his hem. Archdruid Restin. Streaks of red-brown blood and globs of tissue have worked themselves into the minute grooves of the stone. The dwarf wears crimson robes that are stained and streaked with dark patches. His face is smooth, but lacking youthful elasticity. It's as if the lines and wrinkles have been formed and erased many times over. He watches you with eyes like two black pits as he wipes his hatchet on his robes. "Hail, Estramor."
No one comes to Blood Sands without a purpose. What is yours?
His voice is deep and rough-edged. It echoes like a river in an ancient cave. "Who are you?"
I am the Archdruid of the Ethik Null. For centuries it has been my duty to guide our rituals and guard our knowledge. It is work that requires a certain resilience, but it is not without its benefits.
Reston's eerily smooth face is motionless as he watches you. "Tell me more about the Ethik Knoll."
"We are a druidic order that has been in Twin Elms since Engwithan times. Our founders came from the White March, seeking a place where we might practice our beliefs in peace, as it were. Unlike most of our Glanfathan brethren, we seek answers in the world around us, rather than in the teachings of the gods. We believe that all life has power, and that this power can be siphoned and conducted. We are not, as some suggest, madmen and murderers. All of our rituals are conducted with willing participants, and through methods that have been tested and refined over centuries. This allows us to create the war paint for which we are respected, if not loved." I want to know more about your sacrifices. We merely believe that, in giving up something of value, the energy from that sacrifice can be diverted elsewhere. It is not so different from what folk practice all over the world. If you want to turn the soil, sail a ship, or move a cart, you must expend energy.
He smooths his robes.
But we're best known for our practice of kith sacrifice. This is the most potent form of sacrifice because it releases the most energy. We distill the essence of an entire soul into raw power that can strengthen the body, fortify the soul, and extend life.
What's war paint?
A special unguent binding raw essence to the wearer. It grants incredible advantages in combat, and has made us indispensable to the tribes. Whatever they say about our practices, almost all of them have made use of our war paint at some time or another. Fascinating indeed how the most strident objections can be overcome by circumstance.
Can I buy some?
I'm no merchant human. Talk to Keeper Werda. She's around here somewhere.
How are you different from the Ovates of the Golden Grove?
Golden Grove. I remember when Arona came up with that name. Used to be as green as the rest of the forest, you know. We're more similar than they'd like to admit. We both believe in achieving power without the double-edged aid of the gods. But their fantasy is pure creation, something from nothing. They blind themselves to the fact that all life, from the mightiest dragon to the slimmest blade of grass, requires death, and the greatest ends require the greatest sacrifice.
Some sacrifices are simply too costly.
Many agree with you, and many float from one life to the next, living out a finite stock of years and accomplishing nothing.
That's all I wanted to know. You murdered a man right here.
Your simplistic morals do not apply here, Estermore. Murder does not enter into it.
It was a sacrifice, and one willingly entered into. The survival of all things depends on balance. Give and take.
This principle lies at the heart of all power. Expending something of value releases energy. Energy that can be channeled by those who know how.
He tilts his head toward you.
All kith, whether or not they care to admit it, practice this. We take the yield of the land and the flesh of the beasts to live, and we give our blood and sweat to propagate the things we desire.
It sounds brutal. He gives you a reproachful croak.
The world is brutal. Nothing is gained by closing one's eyes against it. Better to recognize these realities that they might better serve you. I invite you to explore our halls and speak with our supplicants. One can learn much by observing the sacrifices others are willing to make for a greater purpose. Perhaps you will even consider making a sacrifice of your own.
He opens one hand toward you. The creases and nails are darkened and brown.
Not all of our sacrifices are written in blood, but the most powerful are.
Farewell, then. Alright. You know, I am curious exactly what bonuses this war paint actually gives. Let me just take a look at the merchant here, I'm curious. Let me see what you have for sale. Flask of war paint. Extra accuracy, damage, and endurance for 20 seconds. That's it. Just 20 seconds. That doesn't really seem that worth it. Oh, although we do have something we can sell you. There we go. Also throw this back into here. Thank you. Okay. That appears to be everything that's here in Blood Sands. I'm curious about something. Yeah, Burial Isle is where we need to go for two things. One of them being Haravius, so we'll need to find our way to get over there somehow. But that said, with everything explored here, I think I'm probably going to end the episode here. A few minutes short, I know, but it's not that big a deal. So, next episode, we're going to head into Old Song, I think. Because I think that's where we can actually go to. I'm going to save going into Ter Evron until after we've explored everywhere else we need to go.
Did you hear that? About our awakenings being permanent?
Yes, I did. I very clearly did. Anyway. Next episode, we head to Old Song and see what we can find in there. Till then, actually, hold on. Before we do, Aloth wishes to speak.
If those Delamgon are right, you and I are stuck with our awakenings. Not quite the news I was hoping for.
I'm concerned about you. How are you taking this?
Oh, the knowledge that a barely civilized bumpkin will share my mind and body for the rest of my life? That's kind of you to ask. I'd always believed that Isilmir was an ailment I could cure myself of one day. But now, to think she'll be around forever.
She's not that bad.
Overstarched tunics, burnt toast, Rawatai sherry, those are not that bad. But having a stranger pop in and out of your head at will, it's unpleasant, I assure you.
And on the bright side, I've got plenty of time to figure out how to deal with her. Like it or not, she's part of you, and she could be a source of strength if you learn to work with her.
It's strange. I've lived with her most of my life, and I've always seen her as an adversary. It should have occurred to me the day she stood up to my father. But there's something about being too close to a situation to see it clearly. It will be a relief to stop fighting her.
Even as he says it, something struggles within him. The muscles in his face twitch and his skin quivers. His eyes roll back in his skull, exposing slivers of white. Sweet beads and glistens on his forehead. After several seconds, he sighs and looks back at you. That wasn't as difficult as I expected. I think deep down I'd always hoped to find a solution elsewhere. When I was a child, I always thought my mother would come home with a mysterious cure, or that my father, without knowing it, could somehow send her away just as he'd called her forth. I can't pretend that I didn't spend years of my arcane training hoping that one of my instructors would have the answer somewhere in his grimoire. When I joined the Leaden Key, I hoped and believed that, with enough loyal service, I'd gain the ear of someone in the organization who could help me. Even when I met you and realized your unique talents, I hoped that you might be able to reach into my soul the way I'd see you do with so many others. I'd been looking for someone else to solve my problem, and now I realize that I've got to face it on my own. You haven't been on your own. I got you through Brackenbury, remember?
I remember well. You've been a capable leader for this expedition, and an invaluable mentor to me. I won't forget what I've learned from you. That reminds me of something else the Delamgon said. About the gods not being real.
He says it quietly, as if afraid someone might overhear him. I don't know what they meant.
It's just... I can't help but worry at the state we'd be in if that was somehow true. If there were no power guiding us in this life and shepherding us to the next.
I'm sure we'll find our way on our own.
I hope you're right.
Is there anything else? So you've made peace with Isilmir? What's that like? Relaxing. More so than I expected. As contentious as she is, I imagine that letting her in would merely unleash the torrent. But now that I'm not fighting her, it seems she isn't fighting me. And you were right. I found much to learn from her. Alright. Well, it's nice to see that Aloth has reached at least some form of peace with Isilmir. She is a part of him, whether he likes it or not. Anyway, next episode, on to Old Song. Till then, I am Chester44, also known as Fly. That is Laniara, Palagina, Haravius, Durance, Aloth, and Sagani. This has been a Let's Play of Pillars of Eternity, and I shall see you all next time.